Okay. So welcome everybody. This is awesome to see a good turnout. Chris, we've got 14 in the room, not counting me. And we've got some that were on our Italy trip this last October. But I'll turn it over to Chris. This is his show, and at the end here, if we've got questions, we can fire away at him. So go ahead, Chris.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. There are some familiar faces, so hello to you. But anyway, hey, thank you all for coming and learning a little bit more about Scotland. Let me just ask you, just so I can make sure that this is all working correctly, do you guys now see a picture of an airplane?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So this is really just going to be more or less kind of take us through day by day what we're going to do, what we're going to see when we're over there. I was over there back in I had to look back. It was back in 2018. So feel free, ask me anything. I was over there actually around your time. It was more mid-October, but anyway, I was there in October. Feel free, ask me anything. But this presentation, more than anything, is going to kind of take us day by day, what we're going to do, what we're going to see. And then please, more than anything, ask questions, ask as many as you want. I'll be here as long as it takes, so no worries. The Scotland trip, when you boil it down, basically the package itself, you've got round trip airfare from Sioux Falls, and then you've got just the base program. It's 8 days or essentially 6 nights in Scotland, and you have various tours, and that's kind of what we're going to go over. You've got, your flight here arriving, of course, and we all wish it was that simple, right? But arriving in Edinburgh. And we'll talk about, for the folks that are going to London first, we'll talk about that after this. There's a little London portion of this as well. But for the ones that aren't going to London, that are just going to go straight into Scotland to start our trip, we'll fly right into Edinburgh. And when you land in Edinburgh, that day is going to be when we're going to start touring. Not for some of us that went to Italy, we flew in that day, we landed that first day, and we really didn't do much that first day. And then we started touring the next day. This is going to be different. We're going to come in, and as soon as we land, we're going to essentially go on tour. The reason why that is we land in Edinburgh in the morning. It's typically an AM arrival into Edinburgh. And so you're going to essentially get shown around the city on arrival. Much like in Italy or any of our other programs, there's going to be a bus outside waiting. There's going to be a tour guide that's going to be with you throughout the trip. They're going to be with you, meet you at the airport, and they're going to be with you, basically all the way through every day. Now, there won't be the only guide. There will be some step-on guides from here and there that what I would consider more to be local guides, and that are going to be giving you different tours, but you are going to have the same person with you throughout your trip. And that would be considered your tour manager. Edinburgh itself, it's an amazing city. It was one of my favorites. That and probably Stirling were two of my favorites. But Edinburgh, it really lives up to the hype. Of course, you've got the Royal Mile, which is where this is on, but basically leads you up to the castle. And the city tour of Edinburgh, it takes you all around the city. You go into some of the different neighborhoods, but then basically you make your way up the Royal Mile and, of course, to the castle. The castle, it's kind of, it's crazy to think, like, back in the day, with this cliff, this was a big lake down here. And so whenever they would have like a political execution, or there was a robber that they hung and now he died and they need to get rid of him, they just throw him in the lake over this cliff. So when they drained the lake and now it's like this beautiful park, there were all sorts of skeletons from over the centuries. It's just wild, the history that's here. And well, it can be pretty violent at times, for sure. The tour of Edinburgh definitely brings you into Edinburgh Castle as well. We don't go into every room, you know, we don't see every part of the castle. I mean, this is just kind of an aerial view, just kind of give you an idea of how big it is. But we do obviously walk through it. We do go to a few different rooms and we get to see, of course, not the whole thing. And for big, like, I don't know, historical buffs or people that want a lot of time in the castle, I would say you would probably want to think about, you know, coming in early or maybe spending more time there or just working out something to give you time because again, just to be fully transparent, the tour that brings you into the castle isn't particularly long, like maybe an hour or two. So it's, you know, you could spend all day there really if you wanted to. But again, that's the castle. And all of this is going to be done from a first class, really first rate hotel. These are going to be very, for those that went to Italy, these would be like more modern hotels, right? Than the hotel in Montecatini, right? So these are like more hotels that we would kind of equate to. They all have their own, for example, own thermostat that works all year round, right? And things like that. So there's some differences, but the point is, look at the hotels. Very good, very nice hotels in really good locations. Both places. But that day is literally, we're going to see all of Edinburgh basically that day. Okay. So when we wake up that next morning, this is the day that we leave Edinburgh and we're going to basically spend out kind of in the surrounding area of Edinburgh and we'll make it all the way up to Stirling as well. In the morning, we'll go to the Rosslyn Chapel. This, if you want, there was like a whole scene, kind of a whole part of the Da Vinci Code devoted around the Rosslyn Chapel. And so if you watch that movie, there's a lot of scenes of that movie that have the Rosslyn Chapel in it. So it's really cool. The thing that kind of surprised me, honestly, when the first or the when I went there was how small it was. You know, here I'll go back, but you look at it like, gosh, it seems like it's a pretty large cathedral, but it really isn't. It's really small and quaint, and it's really neat, but it's got its own charm to it. We'll be here in the morning, leave Roslyn, head over the bridge, and you'll kind of this is only kind of cool because obviously you aren't going to get this kind of perspective, but you can see the timeline of, you know, the architecture. You've got the old bridges way over here in your corner, and then when I was there, this new one was just being finished. So I'm sure when you're there, it's going to be done. But you drive over the lock there, and then come into Dunfermline Abbey. And kind of unique. What's neat about this is before we go to Stirling, but we're going to go here. Excuse me. And if you look up here, you'll see kind of Bruce King or King Bruce. If you watch Braveheart, you know, this is called about Robert the Brucer. And in Braveheart, man, they pictured him in a really negative light, but he was actually kind of he was a really good guy for Scotland. And this is his abbey. And what's unique though about this abbey is just down the road, like literally you'll pass it on your bus on your way up, like maybe it's a 5 minute walk, is Andrew Carnegie's childhood home, where he like grew up. And 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 obviously we all know what happened to him. I mean, he came to the States and he's one of the richest guys ever, you know. And so, but anyway, Andrew Carnegie's childhood home is right down the road, like a 5 minute walk from this abbey as well. I thought that was kind of neat. But tour takes you again kind of through the abbey, but Stirling Castle, the next few pictures honestly don't do it justice, but we'll stay here really for the remainder of the afternoon. Um, this is where like William Wallace, if you watch Braveheart, but this is where this was his stronghold. Um, you can stand up on the walls over there and look at the countryside, and there's like a river and a bridge, and that's where Wallace, one of his famous battles was. I mean, you could see it right from the castle. Um, anyway, it's really neat. But you're gonna basically this day is spent kind of like I said. We'll go to the Abbey in the morning, head over to Rosslyn Chapel, I should say, in the morning, and then head to the Dunfermline Abbey with Carnegie's house, kind of that early afternoon, and then we'll spend basically the rest of the afternoon in Stirling, primarily at Stirling's Castle, and and the tour brings you all the way through the castle into the interior and things as well. That evening, so that's an all-day tour. That evening, we come back to Edinburgh and have one more night at that hotel. And that evening is really you have a choice. You can have an optional choice, and this is like a dinner show, right? That you can go and basically spend the night or the evening rather. You're going to eat a lot of kind of traditional foods. There's a lot of bagpipes, a lot of it's like the whole production. It's really loud. It's a lot of fun, but if you're just into like, hey, this is your last night at Edinburgh, you want a good quiet pub somewhere and drink some scotch and eat a steak, or you know what I mean? If you want something that's a little more intimate or quiet, this would not be, what you want to do that night. It's a lot of fun, but again, it's may not be everybody's cup of tea. So still a lot of fun. You can definitely do it. It's around 100, I think like $80 or $90, somewhere a little less than $100, something like that. The next day, though, so we wake up in Edinburgh after breakfast, we head north. And this is when we head to the Highlands. We go up to, we go up to ultimately Inverness. But before we go there, we stop in St. Andrews and we spend the afternoon there. It's a short drive, like a little more than an hour, I think, if I remember right, from Edinburgh to St. Andrews. You'll go there. We'll have lunch in St. Andrews. That's included. There's time, we'll tour the town, the castle, the ruins, we'll see the old cathedral, the new cathedral, and but also, I mean, of course, also there's time to go, to see the golf course. Go take your picture, on the stone bridge or something. So basically our afternoon, we get there kind of late morning, and then we have lunch there in St. Andrews, have a city tour, and then have some free time there as well. But like we don't spend a majority of the day there. It was funny. I wish I put it in this presentation, but I didn't. When I was there, I took a picture, but there was a cafe. And God, when did Will and Kate meet? Like in the early 2000s or something? I mean, but they still had a big sign on the side of their cafe that said, "Where Will met Kate." And, and I mean, of course, I wouldn't have had a cup of coffee there. But it's so funny. I mean, it's really kind of their claim to fame, but you'll notice really quickly just how small it is. I mean, it's like 3 or 4 streets each way. And so everything's really small, and the whole university is kind of spread out amongst the town. There's not necessarily one campus. The university has buildings throughout the town. So that was kind of unique as well. And all that you'll get to see in firsthand. And again, like I said, we'll be there for several hours, but we aren't going to be there all day or anything. After lunch, a few more hours there, then we leave and we head north from there up to Inverness, and that's where we're going to be for another 2 nights, basically. We get in to Inverness on arrival. You'll get checked in to your hotel, and then basically you have a choice. You have a free day in Inverness. you know, you wake up that next day after breakfast and you can have a free day. And Inverness is nice. It's a little town. Your hotel's right on the river, which is really close. Literally, it's like down the river, like maybe 300, 400 feet from Inverness Castle. And this is right by kind of the downtown of Inverness as well. That you can just kind of walk right in the cathedral there as well. But my point is there's that optional, or you have that free tour, right? That free day, I should say, or you have that optional tour where it takes you out to the Isle of Skye and the Dunravin Castle and the falconry show. You have a choice. You can spend the day going out there and you know, basically going on this tour. You'll see it's kind of interesting. They show you how the falcons, like how they used, how like the people back in the day would hunt with falcons. It's pretty wild. They would, you know, go in the Highlands in Scotland, and these falcons would like go and catch rabbits and stuff for the, you know, the falconers or whatever you call them. I mean, it's wild. And but you learn all about kind of that and how they did it, how they trained them, and then of course it's all done out of the Dunravin Castle. So, but that's an all day tour. Okay. So you really, again, either have an optional tour where we go out, see the falconry show, go up to Isle of Skye, and, you know, basically we go further north from where we are in Inverness, or we stay in Inverness and have a free day. The next morning, we wake up again after breakfast. We'll head off, and now we're leaving Inverness and we're headed south. And now we're going to go, and basically we're headed to Glasgow. Before we go to Glasgow, though, we're going to stop off at Loch Ness. And Loch Ness is literally like 15, 20 minutes or so, maybe outside of Inverness. It's like really, really close. And so it's a short drive. Like literally we leave and then we stop. And we stop it and we explore, we give you some scuba gear, and we all have, you know, we all go looking for Nessie. No, I'm kidding. But we do go out and we go to the Umpqua Castle. You've got the Umpqua Castle, which is right on kind of the banks of Loch Ness. So we'll go there, learn about the English destroyed this castle, and you'll learn all about kind of what they did when they were running through Scotland. And then there's kind of a gift shop too, and all of these, you know, all these like little castles, believe it or not, they all have entrance fees and all of that kind of stuff that are all included. So your guide is going to walk in, get everybody's entrance tickets, hand them out, and then you're all going to kind of walk in together. Is kind of how that would work at each of these sites. But as we head our way south, they stop for a kind of a bathroom break, and basically it's a spot that they sell some ice cream, they like some pastries and stuff. So it's a little like place to grab some snacks, good place to use the restroom. But it's kind of neat because at this particular spot, you have here one way you look, and you've got the Glenfinnan Monument here, which is one of the major scenes. Forgive me, I'm not a Harry Potter like guru or fan, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but this is a huge Harry Potter where he fought the sorcerers, I guess, and there was a huge scene here. This was all filmed here, and then literally from where the store is, so that's one way. It's about a 5-minute, 10-minute walk, or there's like a 2-minute walk. You go the other way, and this is the bridge that you can walk up to, and you can see the bridge. And when I was there, I mean, there was a group that was traveling before us that was traveling before. Anyway, they saw the train actually chugging up the bridge. So that's the Harry Potter bridge train, whatever. But if you're a big Harry Potter fan, this is like where they got the footage. You know, this is the train, bridge, all that stuff. But this is on our way to Glasgow. We don't stop here long, guys. It's maybe 10, 15 minutes for somebody to grab a bite to eat, use the restroom, and then we're on the road again. But it's a good stop. Coming in, your hotel, right there in the city center of Glasgow. There is an optional tour in Glasgow that takes you to a distillery that we'll talk about in just a second. But the tour itself really takes you all around the city. We go to the Killing Grove Museum, which is it's really neat. It's just kind of outside the city. It has a lot of different exhibits, but the architecture and you'll learn kind of what it was before it was the museum. It was, I don't know, there's a lot of history there. And I thought it was really neat. But your tour kind of continues, taking you to the cathedral. For, I mean, in my humble opinion, in when you're in Scotland, this might be one of the neatest cathedrals that you'll visit. And it's and it's kind of unique. The stained glass is incredible, and of course you've got the ceilings, but the whole thing, I mean, it's really impressive. The tour takes you into the St. Mungo cathedral there as well, but then also you've got shopping on Buchanan Street, which is basically just a huge mall that is it's just a pedestrian street that has every kind of store, restaurant you can think of. It's pretty neat. But basically, we would wake up that we would wake up that next morning on that eighth day, right, in Scotland, and some of us would kind of split off. Some of us would go home. We'd fly home um, from Glasgow, or some of us we would take it's a short bus ride down to where we jump on a ferry, and then we take a ferry over to Belfast. And what's kind of unique about this, and I mean, I'm kind of a nerd for history, so I like this kind of stuff. But what's unique about this is you come into on the ferry in particular, you come into the Belfast Harbor, and that's was one of the last harbors. I mean, the Titanic was built in Belfast, but that's one of the last harbors that the Titanic left from. So you kind of get to see just the whole, the harbor and how you come into Belfast, and that for so many years was the only way in and out. There wasn't the airplane, so it was. I like that, but your tour when we get in there, or when we get to Belfast, your tours you're gonna have 3 nights there, first class hotel, but you're gonna have a tour of the Titanic Museum. It's you're gonna go to the well, like where the troubles were, where the Protestants and Catholics were warring and stuff like that. But we'll also leave. We'll leave Belfast and we'll go out into the countryside and we'll go see the Giant's Causeway. This is in north of Belfast on the coast, obviously. It's one of those natural wonders of the world. It's a really kind of cool story about giants and what the story is, but it's it's incredible. You'll learn all about it. But the cool thing about that, at least what we liked, and just before I jump off, we will go to Bushmills. So we're at the in the morning we go up to the Giant's Causeway, but that afternoon before we come back to Belfast, we stop at what's called the Bushmills whiskey distillery, and they create some world class whiskey. But there's a tour that we take you through. You go through the whole kind of park of the distillery. It's a lot of fun. For those that don't drink, don't need to. It's they have it's almost like a farm gift shop where they have where they make their cheeses and things. It's not just whiskey, but nonetheless, really fun. That's in that afternoon. Then we come back to Belfast. Oh, whoops, the other way, back to Belfast. Stormont, this is their capital building, basically. We'll tour basically where their parliament building and their what would be, I guess, for lack of a better term, like their White House would be. But what I thought was pretty cool and what I really enjoyed was, I mean, I remember watching movies and learning about the troubles of what it was back then in Belfast, where you had literally Protestants and Catholics like at war with each other. I mean, like bombing each other's bars and cars and homes. I mean, it was wild. And literally, and so they would have these neighborhoods literally walled off and gated off, so you couldn't leave and people couldn't come in to create and wreak havoc. These are one of the walls. You can see how high that wall is. This is one of the old neighborhoods, one of the old Catholic neighborhoods, if I remember right. But what was kind of neat about it is this whole wall. It probably goes on for about a half a mile, so not like super long, but it's long enough. I mean, it's kind of impressive. There's a big wall. They call it the Wall of Signatures, and it's like their peace wall. And they'll show you everybody, the Protestants and Catholics, like they're good now. They're on good terms. Nobody's killing each other anymore. And there's like this anyway. So they'll go and show you this, and usually, at least our guides usually have some Sharpies in their pockets to hand out to our travelers, so you can sign the wall if you want. But I mean, there's like a gazillion, signatures on that wall. So, you won't get arrested or anything for graffiti, I promise. uh, but there are for the 3 nights now that was basically so we're doing two different things here, but that was what would be considered the post trip, right? So after Scotland, you have 3 extra nights that you can spend in Belfast. You'll take the ferry over there. You'll have the 3 nights. You'll have the tour of Belfast. You'll go out to the countryside, go to Giant's Causeway, Bushmills Distillery, all that stuff that I talked about. For London, this is for the people that would come in early. So instead of leaving, hold on here, I wrote this down. Instead of leaving on the 9th, you would leave on the 6th, right? And then you would fly into Heathrow, basically. You'd fly into London. And you'd be met by your tour guide there, your tour guide that would be with you, the same tour guide in London there. And then you have your 3 nights in London. Eric, I'm sorry, I will, and probably early next week, I wasn't able to confirm the hotel in London that you all are going to be staying at. They gave me 2 different ones that they're under contract with, and so I asked them to send me the one that's confirmed. So I should be able to tell you all which hotel y'all are staying in London shortly, like by next week or so, I would say. But the tour of London, you're going to have essentially 3 nights there, and the tour is going to take you to of course, the Parliament Building. You've got Big Ben, Westminster Abbey, of course, and London. What's at least what I thought was kind of funny that I didn't realize, but it seemed like there's a lot of during the night, London's it's a lot quieter than it is during the day. It's not like people are still there. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's a lot it's a lot quieter than it is during the day, I guess. And so I like the fact that you guys are going to be there 3 nights because you guys will get a good kind of mix of nighttime in London, but also during the day. The tours of London, like I said, it's going to take you to those different, the Parliament Building, Westminster Abbey. We're going to go into all these places, but there is an optional tour, and it would be an additional cost, but it would take you outside of London, out to Stratford upon Avon, and this is Shakespeare's birthplace. This is an all-day tour. We would stay out there all day, go to his little. I say little, but probably back then it was probably a really large house. But the tour itself takes you basically all around. We learn all about Shakespeare, where he came from, his upbringing. It's pretty interesting. Now, those are for folks that are interested in learning about Shakespeare, right? For some of us, like Shakespeare, I could, you know, I didn't like Hamlet. I won't like this, so I don't know. Everybody's different. For some, that's blasphemy, what I just said. So, it is what it is. But you can choose that. And if you don't want to essentially go on this optional tour outside of London, essentially you're going to have a free day in London to do what you want. I should mention the tour of London. We also do go by and we do see, we stop and it's so touristy, I know, but they do stop and we watch the changing of the guard. So at Buckingham Palace. So that is one of the things that we do on the tour, but it's for others, it's like, oh my gosh, that doesn't interest me. But anyway, I want y'all to kind of know exactly just what it is that you're getting into and what kind of the experience is going to be. Again, just to kind of sum it up, you've got 3 nights in London on the front end. If you want, you would fly into London and then you would leave London. More than likely, you would fly from London to Edinburgh to meet up with the group. More than likely, that's still in flux. But that's if you were wondering how are we going to meet up with the group in Scotland, that would be how. So anyway, are there any questions or comments about the trip or itinerary? What to expect? Anything like that?
Chris, can you touch on their packet, the designation for what meals are included?
Yeah, you bet. Here, let me close this here. Open this here. Let's see if I can I move this? All right, let me try something down. Here we go. Okay. Do y'all see the flyer there?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so basically when you break it down, both of the base tour itself, so the base tour meaning just Scotland, you have breakfast included every day, every morning. There's a lunch that's included in St. Andrews, and then there's a dinner that's included in Glasgow, a farewell dinner. For those that go to Belfast or that go to London, there's breakfast included in the morning, but lunches and dinners would be, on your own, so to speak. Here. Okay. So now I just shared my screen and we should be looking at the online reservation form. Is that right? Do y'all see the Edelman Discoveries and Madison Chamber of Commerce logo there at the top? This is basically the online reservation form. And one thing that I want to point out, and that's in kind of the fine print right here, it's down here, it's in the insurance section. This part right here, guys, there's traveler's insurance that's one complimentary, but that complimentary insurance is limited to a degree. And what I mean by that is it doesn't cover you in case you would have to cancel the trip. Okay, so there'd be additional traveler's insurance that you would need to purchase to cover yourself if you in lieu of a cancellation. Now, if you're one of those people, kind of like I am, that are, hey, I'm blowing hell or high water, I don't really care, I'm going, then you don't need the cancellation insurance. but everybody, regardless, and this is what I wanted to point out, there's a complimentary insurance policy here that is included for everybody at no extra cost, okay? And now it does not cover cancellation coverage, but it does cover if your bag gets, God forbid, gets lost or, delayed in some way. There's like that means 250 a day or 1,500 if your bag just gets lost and you never see it again. You have to, and what that means is you can go into Scotland and buy yourself a new wardrobe. And the main thing, the most important thing is you need to save those receipts. And so you can make sure as long as you save your receipts, when you get back, you can file a claim and you can be reimbursed. Same with like a trip delay or God forbid you get hurt and have to be like medevaced home or something, but there's 150 grand of that insurance in there. All of that doesn't cost you a thing, but again, it's complimentary, but it doesn't cover cancellation. So um, I'm a big believer in travelers insurance. None of us know what's going to happen. We just, uh, gosh, especially in today's world. And so to have that level of security, knowing that if something traumatic happens in your family, if if a spouse gets really sick, or if you get sick, or if something terrible happens where you need to cancel, you'll be able to get your money back. And that's important. And you can either purchase that traveler's insurance from us. We have two different options, or you can purchase it from a travel agent or on the internet or whatever you're most comfortable with. You don't need to buy our policies, but I do encourage you to get it. And if you do buy our policies, of course, we can help you with the to get any kind of claim started if that's indeed needs to happen. Um, the two insurance policies that we offer, we have a what would be considered a cancel for any reason policy, which literally means just what it says. You can cancel for any reason. It's a great policy. My only issue with it is that the premiums tend to be it's an expensive policy to buy. The premiums are a lot. And versus when you compare it to what I would call more of a traditional policy, more of just a regular cancellation policy that covers medical reasons and big catastrophic events, you're covered. You just can't wake up for any reason and decide to cancel. But that insurance policy, the premiums are much more reasonable. And both of them though you're able to get your money back in case of a cancellation. So for what it's worth, for what it's worth, I think that it's worth it for everybody to at least consider the cancellation coverage. Like I said, it doesn't need to be our cancellation coverage. It can be, anyone that you're most comfortable with that you find a great deal on or whatever. It's totally up to you. Just sign up for the trip. The main thing is basically for the our early bird discount has expired. So really to qualify for that $33.99, what we need to do is really the only thing you need to do is before April 9th, you need to sign up for the trip, and you can sign up and it's $450 a person. So using your credit card, write a check. You can go onto this online reservation form that I had up previously. Here, I'll go back to it. And you can book. Here we go. Here we go. I'm back on the online reservation form. You can go to right here where it says book now and sign up for the trip here using your credit card. The one thing that I would encourage you all to do is use your trip or use your credit card when you sign up for the trip or when you pay for the trips. Checks are great. I love checks and using my debit card for a lot of things. But what's uniquely beneficial about credit cards is that some credit cards have their own built-in insurance, traveler's insurance plans. And so you might be able to, of course, we all know about points and miles and all that. So we already know about that. But sometimes travelers or credit cards have traveler's insurance plans built into them whenever you buy any travel related services with that card. Okay. So that might save you a little bit right there as well. Okay. But I just kind of want to give you all the ins and outs so you all can, get the best bang for your buck at the end of the day. And again, that the trip, you see the dates there, but if for those that are going to Belfast, we would be coming home on the 19th. So for those that were wondering, that are going to be extended, we'd be coming home on the 19th. I know I've been talking to your guys' ear off, and I apologize. Are there any questions for me about the trip or the process or anything like that?
I have a question, Chris.
Sure.
Does Scotland, what is their tipping policy? Was it similar to Italy?
Like for the guides, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yes, it would be. The main difference being that in Scotland you have a driver, you'll have a tour manager, and the tour manager is often the tour manager and driver guide. So you'll have like Colin, for example, would be your. So remember how we had Sandra, then we had a bus driver, right? For Italy. It would be the bus driver and Sandra, and then we would have somebody from Edelman Discoveries with you as well. In addition to that, then local guides where you go to the different spots. Does that make sense? So the tipping would be, you would be tipping Colin as your tour manager, like he was Sandra. So to give you an idea, the pound would be around 4 to 5 British pounds per day per person would be what would be a kind of the suggested tipping amount for that tour manager / bus driver.
Any other questions for? I'm by no means an expert on these trips. But I can usually get the answer when questions come in. So, as you take this material home, and Chris, for you too, I have everybody's emails. So I will send out the reservation link so you can look through that insurance policy and check out the tours that Chris mentions, not the pre and the post, but the optional tours during the time that you're in Scotland. That dinner show that he mentioned, and then I think there was one other optional tour that you can sign up for.
So we will be looking at we could get to 3,290.
Correct, yep, so it would be $33.99 before April 9th. And I do know, so the deposit is $450. And then, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, would it be June 9th? Everything would have to be paid for by then?
Yes, I believe so. It's it would be like early June, I believe, or but yes, I believe like early June or like late May. But yes, sir, I can get you. I need to ask marketing. I'm sorry, I don't have that date in front of me right now. But I can certainly tell you. But figure early June, and that would be when you're in the balance effectively would be due.
So when you sign up and pay your deposit, then you kind of work with Edelman to set up how you want to take care of paying for the rest of the trip. Whether it's half in May and the other half in June, or you wanna wait till June and pay for it all, or if you wanna pay for all of it when you sign up. Kind of however it works out best for you. Laura and Brenda and Aaron, they went to Italy, there was eight of you that went from Madison. Well, counting your
Oh, yes.
other two passengers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I-
So they're good resources too. I don't, if there's any points that you wanted to make to the.
We had one question, Chris. Walking was kind of an issue in Italy. Is that similar here? There was a lot of it in Italy.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of I mean, maybe not like like, you know, day for day quite as much as Italy, but there is a lot of walking. You know, when we're in like when we're in Sterling, for example, you know, we have to kind of walk up to the castle. There's yes, there's a fair amount of walking. I wouldn't say it's terribly difficult. It's nothing. There's never a day like, for example, like the day in Florence that we had, that, you know, when we came in, and we all know about that couple, but just that there was a lot of walking like that day in particular. There's not a day like that. In Edinburgh, it's a walking but also bus tour. When you go, we don't walk up the Royal Mile to go to the castle. We take you to the Royal Mile. We get to see some shops. Then we get back on the bus and drive to basically the top of the Royal Mile where the castle is, and everybody gets off there. So it's a much shorter walk to actually get into the castle. So there are things like that that are done, you know, to limit the amount of walking, but you know, bring your walking shoes, because it's probably going to certainly be more walking than we do, you know, in our daily lives here.
A couple other things that I want to point out. I don't remember where the other groups were from. But there's other chambers across the country that'll be on the same trip. They aren't necessarily all mixed in with everybody, but
What was our full group size, Chris? Was it about 40 people? That was with us?
It was on our bus. Yeah, I think it was like between 35 and 40 people, kind of like that. And so that would that would be very consistent with what you would have in Scotland, you know, something, and that would be the biggest, right? That would be the biggest it would be. In Italy, same with Scotland, you would all have the earpieces and the earbuds. All the guides would have, you know, the little microphones that they'd be talking into. You know, so all of that would be, you know, would be the same.
Your point, Eric, when you get to that group size, it's a combination of chambers kind of from all over that come together. So we're with our own chamber group, and then as well as others, right? So our group doesn't get split up unless that's.
no.
No, everybody from Madison will be together. It's just about, it's more the question is, how many folks from other chambers will be with the folks from Madison? And that really depends on how big the group from Madison is. Look, if you guys have a group of, you know, I'm not saying that you will, but if you have a group of 35 or 40 people, well, then you have the whole bus. So you wouldn't be traveling with anybody else. It would just be you guys. Does that make sense? So yeah, it would be something similar.
And they can get, well, Brenda can talk on this, and Aaron too, they can get flights out of anywhere pretty much.
Yeah.
Have family members that don't live in Madison, but they want to go on the trip.
And
Brenda-
honestly, and I mean, and in my humble,
Hang on, Chris.
Oh, go ahead.
And then, so I asked them, Adeline works great. I flew me out of JFK and then I met up with the group, so they worked with me to get it all set up. The day that I was done with my time in New York and me there, got back home with the other people who was like, so they work great with you.
Do you schlep your own luggage?
So when we were in Italy, we did the which was in Rome, and then we went to Florence. We were same hotel, so we only had to do it once.
So we change hotels more often.
So you have to take your luggage downstairs and then they'll put it on the bus, but you wanna obviously keep your eye on it, so you just get on the bus to make sure. Other than that, they will, but you will have to take it. We stayed in old hotels, so if they're new and modern, maybe they'll have bellman, I don't know, to take it up there, but we had to take ours up on our own to the room.
It was an
Yeah,
old-
I was,
Yeah, I was gonna say an old hotel where you and maybe your suitcase got in the elevator. Yeah.
yeah, that's a big if. Yeah, those elevators were really tight. These are, yes, but to, in theory though, the porterage service at each of the hotels, they have been prepaid and pre-tipped. So there is a staff there. They should be, that one hotel that we were at, I know in Montecatini in particular, well, we know there, we couldn't get, that's why we were all kind of working together to get our bags to the bus. But, for specifically for Edinburgh, Inverness, and Glasgow, there should be the bell crew there that will be schlepping your bags up to your room and back down to the lobby after a couple of nights. I mean, but that's everybody's own prerogative. I'm the kind that I like to take my own bags everywhere. It doesn't matter if there's a porterage. I'll take it. Thank you very much. But that is there for folks. One thing that I just wanted to mention too, kind of to Brenda's point about flights and stuff. But guys, if you wanna fly from a different airport, or if you want to upgrade in any way, that's all available. And you really have two options. You can work with our office and they can work with you on kind of a one-on-one basis. I mean, our air department, to get you what flights you need and out of where and at what time and all that good stuff. Or if you want, you can take an air deduction, which would be and I would get with Eric on the total cost of this, but it's usually around $700 or $800. You're never going to beat our prices on Expedia, right? But this appeals to people that have a lot of points or mileage that may just say, hey, just give me the discount and I'll book my own airfare and I'll handle it myself. I'll book it all myself. And that's another option for all of you as well. And that's called the air deduction. And then effectively you would then go out as the traveler and usually with your miles or with your points or something, book your airfare that way. But either way, we can do it. You have the choice. But I wanted you to know that there were choices there. So
Chris, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have, with us going to different hotels, is there like a luggage limit? For example, I had a large suitcase and then I carried a roll, like a carry-on.
The issue we had with buses, putting the luggage in the back of the bus.
Yeah.
Where we almost didn't fit.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's all the wine you bought.
Yeah.
Shit.
We got creative. We put it all in there. And let me check. So the standard answer that I would tell you is that you would be limited to like one checked bag, and then you could have one small carry-on and then a personal like item, right? Like a backpack or something like that.
That's reasonable.
Basically just what we had in Italy, or what I told you guys in Italy, but we still had that issue. So I realized that. So let me just talk with our operations to find out logistically if there's any, you know, if we have any kind of bottleneck or any kind of requirement that I'm not aware of for luggage, okay?
What's the weather this time of year, or in October in that area?
It's like it's, I mean, it's not freezing, you know, don't expect it like to be like snow or like freezing on the ground, but it's, but I mean, I thought it was chilly, you know, it's, uh, it was like, I mean, it was like, if I remember right, it was like during the middle of the day, it was like in the low 60s, high 50s. You know, I mean, that was kind of like the highs. And then during, you know, during the evenings, it got into like I want to say like high 40s, low 50s, something like that. It it doesn't fluctuate that much, but you do want to. I mean, I think that the best thing is I tell everybody this, but layers, of course, we all know that. Um, and then there is a chance that it can rain. I mean, it rains there kind of year round. It's not like don't expect, you know, a downpour. Or it's not like the rainy season or anything like that. But it, you know, when the rains come through, they usually come through pretty quick and kind of blow through. So if it rains, it might rain, you know, an hour or two and then it's out. But either way, it's better to be prepared. So a short handle umbrella, something like that, a light jacket, you know, that would have a hood. Um, I, you know, I wouldn't ever expect it to have rained like it did when we were in Chicotera, right? um, and that was the morning it did, and then the afternoon it was perfect, you know. And so it's just one of those things. So be prepared if you can.
Any other questions for Chris? Right now, I mean, if you have others later on, you can always shoot them over to me but if there's nothing else for Chris, I'll let him go.
Well, and I'll just and here I'll just share this really quick. But this is Eric had mentioned some of the optional tours and a description of those optional tours, costs of those optional tours, what that might look like. And this is what it is here. You have the Scottish Knights dinner show. So I made a mistake, excuse me. So that's $119. You have the falconry excursion, that's $149. You got the whiskey tasting and luncheon at the Clydeside Distillery. This is in Glasgow. This is like 80, so 79, $80. Um, this is kind of in the distillery. Y'all can look it up, but it's in kind of the dockside part of Glasgow. It's kind of like it's like an up and coming kind of spot in the city. It's a neat. I really liked it. It was a cool little distillery. You know, had a lot of character and flair to it. But that's right in kind of the docks or the kind of the dock area of Glasgow as they call it. So, but this is all online, and y'all can look at this yourselves by clicking that book here or click here to book now on your PDF, and it'll bring you to this page here, and y'all can have, you know, all the additional information, you know, you need is all going to be here.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Stop recording.
Yes, sir.
Are you still planning on coming in May? Late April, early May?
You know it.
All right.
Yeah. And I just got to say, Brenda and Laura,